scribes and Pharisees were the most important people in the land of Jesus' time. What they said mattered. If there was Twitter of those days, you would have something like a Twitter feed on herbs and 10,000 likes, as a Pharisee describes how you tithe a sage plant and give some to God. Jesus seems to offer a very different type of ministry, it's type of lifestyle. The tax collectors and sinners gather around him. They seem to appreciate what he says. His teaching is more accessible. People are gathering to him, and it may have been tempting for people to think, well, the Pharisees and teachers of the law, their teaching is so heavy, so difficult, so impossible. We've got something a lot easier, a lot more grace-filled, a lot more accessible. And so the words of Jesus in the Sermon on the Mount that we're going to read today is shocking. He says, "Do not think I've come to abolish the law and the prophets. I have come not to abolish them, but to fulfill them." And then he goes on to say in this very short passage that, "I tell you that unless your righteousness surpasses that of the Pharisees and the teachers of the law, you will certainly not enter the kingdom of heaven." When I was at boarding school, there was one rule: don't go out on a Sunday from the school bounds. One particular Sunday we all went out, and even the people who were meant to stop us going out went out. And in the evening, when the housemaster called for people to come to his room to receive the cane for doing so, there was a huge line. Everybody in the house had got out of bounds that day. And righteousness and perfection that Jesus is describing here reveals that even the Pharisees, even those that were meant to be the upholders of the law, giving extra rules to the law, their religion was an external religion. It was a moral religion. It was more about what it looked like rather than a religion or a faith of the heart. And Jesus says, "I've not come to abolish the law, but to fulfill them." And in that is the secret of Christianity. It isn't an external religion to climb to God. Jesus has, in perfect righteousness, fulfilled the law of God. He is the Lamb of God in perfect righteousness who died a perfect death as a substitute for this sinful world. And by faith in him and faith alone, we are saved. We become the righteousness of God. We're clothed in the righteousness of Christ. But Jesus is teaching here that that faith is never alone. That actually there is a living out of this life of faith that is pleasing to God, holy and righteous, hungering and thirsting for righteousness. So the Christian faith isn't about the externals, which have all been stripped away in COVID. It is about the heart. What we are, not when we go to church, not what we look like on the external, but what we are when we're just alone with God. And so this is a encouragement to everybody to use this time to go deeper in God, hungering and thirsting for his righteousness.